Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Hey, this is Evan.
Hey, Jason Underwood.
And we hope you're enjoying the shows on the Danger Entertainment Network, now including the Bearded Ones Comedy Podcast.
Yeah, we're super thrilled to be a part of this awesome lineup, guys. And what we do here on our show is, look, we are just trying to make you guys laugh through all kinds of different avenues.
Hear me out here.
Yeah.
Hear me out.
Please.
What we are is we're two geeky white dudes talking and trying to be funny.
Yeah, not try to blow in your mind here with with something brand new, but yeah.
You never heard anything like this. We talk about Star Wars. We're talking about superheroes.
Talking about Marvel movies, man. Look, we're cutting some we're breaking some damn boundaries over here.
We are breaking new ground.
Yeah.
But for real, what we do is we play invented games.
Yeah, and we try to spin everything into a brand new fun game that we've made up. We filter it all through that sensibility, and
we're both improvisers, so a lot of what we talk about ends up in sort of a scene that we have a lot of fun with. We talk about our lives, pop culture, and movies. We talk about a little bit of everything. So if that's what you like, check us out, Bearded Ones Comedy Podcast on the Danger Entertainment Network.
They look like Vikings.
We're not doctors, therapists, trained professionals of any kind, so if you feel you do need help, please reach out and get the help you need. We have a whole list of things on our files page over on Facebook at facebook.com/crazylifepodcast, and or just search on the internet for the suicide prevention hotline number, or go to NAMI.org or whatever resource you can find. But just please reach out for help if you need it. If you feel as though you're going to harm yourself or others, definitely reach out and try not to be alone. Also, if you feel that way and you realize that you're writing a note or making plans of how you would do, like harm yourself or others, definitely reach out. That's a huge red flag. And lastly, please do not replace the idea of therapy with listening to this show. Again, if you need help, please reach out and get the help that you need, or contact us. We can try to help you find the help that you need.
Life sucks to the last drop. Are you gonna blow your head off? Take good aim and don't forget to duck. Life sucks every Monday and all the way to Sunday, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't care how you're doing, what's up or how's it hanging. I'd like to buy this world one last drink. Life sucks all of the time, stick it up your sunshine, and then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day. And then you'll see the clouds every day.
Welcome to The Crazy Life, everyone. My name's Jen, and I am your hostess for the evening. And with me, as always, we have Brian and Henno. Hey, guys.
Howdy.
Hey, hey, hey.
So you look kind of confused there, Brian. Forget who you are?
No,
Nah.
You know who he is. Come on.
no. No, Mufasa came to me and I remembered who I am. So,
Don't make him have to remind you.
yeah. That's right.
Well, since I had the least eventful week, I guess I will kick us off. Actually, what I'm going to talk about, because my week has been pretty standard, nothing too crazy one way or another. I was lazy as all get out on Saturday and Sunday. And I do say lazy and not, self-care, because I was honestly lazy and didn't do anything.
Fair enough.
So
Yeah.
I completely own it, 100%.
All right.
I was so lazy, in fact, I got myself bored on Sunday because I was so lazy. I crossed that border over into boredom. It was not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But what I do want to talk about is actually my Friday night, because I attended my husband's graduation ceremony.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Finally getting out of kindergarten,
Which-
huh?
Yes. Actually, somebody in one of my Twitter rooms asked me, they're like, high school? Question mark?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it had to be something like that. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Right.
Husband is graduating from high school. Thank you.
Yes. Which, let's be honest, that's nothing to joke about, really. If he were, that would still be awesome, so it's
True.
Yeah.
Right. It would be awesome that he would
Yeah.
be graduating from high school. It
Yeah.
would not be awesome the fact that he would be 18. Because
Well, if that were
I
the
will-
case, yes, but I'm just meaning, I was meaning it more as though like someone going back to get their GED kind of a scenario. But yeah. That's why I said,
Exactly.
a friend of mine, a few years ago got his and was kind of downplaying it, and I'm like, "No, man, let's go out and let's get dinner, let's celebrate, man." Like you did,
Yeah,
and he was like,
absolutely.
"Why?" Blah, blah. I'm like, "Because you bothered." Let's be
Yes.
honest. I'm like, you're at this point, he's like 30 years old or over 30. It's like, you don't need to. You can still go get jobs and not, they don't care as much because you're so far removed from the high school age that you have work experience they can look at,
Mhm.
But you still went back, and he went back because he wanted his kids to basically see that it's important, to finish. And I was like, the fact that you did it for your kids, the fact you're bothered is a good reason. Let's go celebrate that, So, yeah, like I said, I wouldn't
Absolutely.
make fun of that, but
Yeah.
still, either way, well, congratulations to him for, for again, sticking it out and, doing it. I can't make fun of anybody for any sort of college thing because, all I did was go to a lot of years of college and not graduate, so.
Well, he ended up, he started school way back when he got out of high school, he got a job at a steel plant.
Yeah.
And was working at a steel plant. And the steel guys, the old grizzled guys that had worked there for so many years of their lives, pulled him aside and basically verbally beat the hell out of him. And said, what are you doing? You don't want this. You don't want to look like this for the rest. Look at how broken down we are.
Yeah.
You don't want this for your life.
Yeah.
You need not be, and you need to figure that out. And so he ended up going to school for airplane repair.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Which
the
really
pan-
quick, I
airplane-
got to say, kudos to those guys for understanding what kind of job that they're in. And it's like, look, it's been a fine career and everything, but it
Mhm.
beats you up. It's hard on you, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, good on them for trying to catch somebody before they get past the point of no return, and say, hey, think long and hard about this. Like, if you got options, you might look into some options or whatever. So,
Exactly.
yeah, it's nice
and he
of them
said
to do
that's
that.
really what got through to him.
Yeah.
And so he started to get his degree, and one thing led to another. September 11th happened. He was working in the industry, and it just became incredibly hard for him to get a job because nobody wanted to fly
Yeah,
in an
right,
airplane.
right.
So,
Yeah, for anyone young enough to not remember that, which is a possible thing now, the industry was going through a real problem with people not wanting to fly, so a lot of people lost their jobs and everything around that time.
So he got started on other career paths and things, and so he kind of let his schooling go. Well, this last year when he's been on disability, he decided that he wanted to go back and he wanted to finish.
Nice.
So yeah,
Good time,
so we
right?
went back
I
and
mean, you might as well, make some productivity out of a time when you can't be productive, at your normal job there. Yeah.
Say hi to everybody.
It was tough. It was tough because he's not the most studious person. He doesn't take to it very well.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the ability to focus for long periods of time like it takes to go to school. So it just makes things it was just harder for him than it would have naturally been for me.
Yeah.
I give him lots of credit for sticking it out and pushing through it. So he graduated on Friday with his associates in aeronautic mechanics, associates of applied sciences and aeronautic mechanics, I believe it is. Anyway, so some
Plane fixer,
big
right.
words.
Yeah.
You'll fix that in post, right, Brian?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like I always do. I clean everything up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Makes us sound pretty.
Yeah.
There you go. So I'm sitting there in the audience and completely my mother-in-law is on at my side and we're sitting next to each other, and she leans over and she tells me, she's like, I've never seen him in cap and gown before because he didn't walk for his high school graduation because he had issues with the principal.
Oh, okay.
So
it's really funny because
even
even now, if I completed college after the 40 years of schooling I've put in, I would be like, I am not walking, and be like, you can just
his parents.
Yeah, which is that's the only reason I did in high school. Otherwise, I would have skipped that too. I didn't care about that part of it. Yeah.
She's like, I've never seen him in a cap and gown, and it's just she could tell she was getting emotional about it and stuff, and him in typical fashion didn't crack a smile as he's doing the walk, and they have the Pomp and Circumstance playing. And of course, I'm getting emotional because Pomp and Circumstance gets me emotional. Shoot, anything gets me emotional.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Especially music.
Mm-hmm.
Especially music.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to hold it together. She's trying to hold it together. We're taking all sorts of pictures. He's stoic as stoic can be.
Right.
As he's doing this walk around the airplane hangar where it was taking place. And then, so we're doing this whole thing. And they did this beautiful appreciation of the veterans that were graduating that served in the service, and then went to graduate from them. They did a bunch of different really cool things. So the keynote speaker, to make a long story even longer,
that's his job.
The keynote
or her,
speaker,
I guess I should say, but.
Yeah, it was a her. She said something that really was resonated, which is her job. So she did it well. It stuck with me. She said, and I'm sure somebody's quote, and I don't remember who, but she said, there will be people who throw stones at you. Do not pick up the stones and throw them back. Take those stones and build your empire. And it really kind of stuck with me because I started thinking about that, and I'm like, how true is that? To really stop and analyze how we react. We can't control how others react towards us. We can control how we react towards others. And we can control how we react towards ourselves. So finding that balance and using those tools they've unintentionally given us to build our own personal empire and build ourselves up is so important. I look a lot, I'm on social media a lot. We've talked about that before on here. And I see this happen time and time and time again. Is somebody says something, the other person says something back, then the first person has to respond, and then it goes back and forth and back and forth, and becomes this big thing, and everybody hates everybody, and it's just a mess.
Mm-hmm.
When all there is there's a happy little block button.
Yeah.
You know, all you have to do to make the whole thing disappear is boop, done.
Yeah.
And they don't exist in your universe anymore.
Yeah, it's a pretty powerful thing, you know. It's like, I forgot what comedian it was that was talking about how cell phones have given us like a power unlike any we've ever had, when you could just delete someone from your existence, you know, like.
From my world,
Yeah.
you no longer exist.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love that power. And so often I look upon this stuff and I'm like, you know, I don't use that power enough to say, you're not good for me in my life. You're not adding to things. I am blocking you. I am cutting you out. If only it was as easy as hitting the little button. But even if we can't do that, we can still fine-tune who we have around us and make sure that the people who are making us better are the ones that we're holding close. And the ones that are throwing rocks, like she said, don't throw them back. Make sure that you're using them to build yourself up and to make your life better.
Yeah.
So that was my week.
Pretty good.
All right. Well, mine.
Not bad.
No. Mine has had a real fun turn. I started the week off by Tony and I recording 2 episodes of Salty Language because we were way behind on one, and because he was going to be gone, we decided to go ahead and do one to go up, which actually I'll be posting after we're done with this tonight. And I, saved everything. I went to record, or we got done recording the second one, and then I went to pull up the first one so that I could edit it to post it. Only to go, I'm looking at, because I number all of the files according with, what episode they are, and realizing I didn't have an episode 428 saved. And I'm like, oh no. And I pulled up the template that I use and realized that I had recorded episode 429 on the template. And I was like, oh no, I recorded over it. And immediately my heart sank because, or not really a heart sank. I honestly, I felt very stupid. Because this is the first time I've done this. Like, I've done other things in the past where we've, lost an episode or whatever. One time GarageBand just quit in the middle or right as I was saving, and then, we lost that episode and had to redo it. And, my Mac hard drive died while I was editing one, which is, if you look at the numbering in our iTunes, there's actually a gap. A 1 episode gap that you will find, and that's the episode, is that one died and I never could recover it. So I just kept numbering going forward for, just in case I ever did find that one, could get access to it. That way I could put it back in there. But anyway, so I'm sitting here and I'm like, so I text Tony and I'm like, so I might have saved over the first one we did. And he goes, oh no, and so I'm like, well, since we did 2, I was like, I can just go ahead and I'll post the second one. I'll see if Heno can jump in and record with me to do a new one. That way everything's covered. And it just stinks that the one I'd be posting at that point would have references to an episode that didn't get posted. So there'd be jokes that there'd be no setup to.
Right.
Like, there's a callback. And I actually say that on one of the things in the episode. That's a callback to last episode. And there wouldn't have been, that episode wouldn't have been there. So, so I'm just like, oh man. So I immediately try some things to see if I can revert, because Windows 10 has if you right click on a file, it'll say, revert to previous or something like that. Nothing showed. I went on to Reddit, Facebook, Audacity's forums and posted on there. It was like, hey, here's what I did. Is there any way to recover it? And basically all I got from everybody was no, because you already saved it. Like, had you not saved it, you might have been able to, or closed Audacity down.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so I was like, okay, So that night I was just so frustrated. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not doing it tonight. I just, so the next night I sit down, go to post it, and realize that I didn't actually overwrite it. What happened was it saved in Audacity, and whenever you click record in Audacity, it starts a new track. And I don't know why I didn't think about that, but they were both saved on the same file. So it was there. Yeah, it was there the whole time. So, I fixed that issue. And was so happy, when I found that, because I literally was for that whole day. I was beating myself up pretty good over it. Like seriously, Brian, you've done this well between the two shows. A good 650 sometimes plus 50 enthusiasts, so 700 times. You'd think I wouldn't make a mistake like that, but
There's always room to surprise yourself.
Oh yeah. It's amazing. Stupidity doesn't care about the oh shoot, I can't think of what it's called now. Oh geez, like probability, basically. The law of averages. That's what it is. Yeah, stupidity will always trump that. So anyway, so once I figured that out, I immediately texted Tony and was like, "Hey, guess what?" And I texted Henno like immediately afterward because I was super excited that. The sad part was I was kind of like I was looking forward to doing a show with you, and then I was like, well, I guess not. I mean, we could have, I guess, but could have just done some random thing with us doing some news stories or something. But anyway, so luckily that turned out, and that was after a week where this show didn't go up when I thought I posted it. Because when I went to post it, I posted all the promo stuff. I think I talked about that last week. I posted all the promo stuff, but didn't actually post the episode until after Henno was like, "Hey, there's no episode." So I'm really I'm crushing it lately. So you know what it is? Just with the salty language one was just that I use a template, and then first thing I do is do a save as, and then that becomes the actual episode file. That way I can just keep the template with all the stuff at the beginning of the show and our song and everything pre-done, so I don't have to do it every time. And so, I was just, too much on my mind that night because I was thinking of us doing the 2 episodes and blah, blah. And then the one with this show was just that I put a day between recording it and the other, and for some reason I thought I posted it. I don't know why. I could have swore I posted it.
I got a text from a listener. It was like, I think it was like on Wednesday or something, like, no show this week? And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I just figured, sometimes stuff happens. Like, sometimes I intend to edit and post something on a certain day, and then something happens, or I need to go do something else, and it goes for a couple days. And so I was like, something must have happened. Brian will get it up.
Yeah. Well, I was going to post it the night we recorded it, but Henno and I talked pretty late that night because I think we both kind of just needed to. And I think it was, like 2 or 3 in the morning, my time, when we got done talking.
Yeah. I think it was midnight.
And I was like, I don't feel like doing this now. So I just was like, I'll do it tomorrow. I closed the file. Because I learned that was actually what happened with my Mac was I had the file open and the hard drive crashed, and that's what corrupted the file. So I was like, I'll close the file. That way, if anything were to happen to the hard drive, it's not, I should still be able to recover the file. But then the next day I just started putting together the other stuff and just never posted it for whatever reason. So anyway, so there was that. And then after, I forgot what day it was this week, I was just tired. Like, I went out to a couple stores with my mom, and I got home, and I had no energy, just nothing. And I was like, I told her, I was like, I think I'm going to go take a nap. I was like, maybe I just didn't sleep real well last night or something. So I get done, I go in and I lay down. I was out. I didn't wake up. I laid down at about 5:30, 6 o'clock, and I woke up about 2:30 in the morning. I mean, was just out. And I woke up and I had a horrible, like, cluster headache, like the ones I get that are in between my eye and my nose. And I'm like, oh man, I was like, well, maybe that's what it was. Maybe my brain was kind of feeling that coming on, and I didn't realize it. So I got up, took my medicine because I need to make sure I take my antidepressant and whatever. So I take that, take something for the headache, and I went back in. I laid down again. I didn't get up the next day until almost 5 o'clock. And I woke up and I still had no energy. And then my head started hurting again. So basically after I ate, I'm like, it was hurting so bad. I was like, I have to go lay down. So I did it again and basically did a very similar kind of thing. And I woke up that night and I'm like, man, am I sick? Like, I'm wondering if I, maybe have a touch of something, but it's like I felt okay otherwise, So, I don't know, but this has continued. Last night I felt that way again. I had been feeling fine. And then yesterday we went to the grocery store and, I came home, unloaded all the groceries, and then made dinner. And a little while after eating, I was just like, I was just nothing. So I went in and my head started hurting a little bit again. I went in and I laid down and started watching the football game last night and ended up falling asleep during the football game and woke up again at like 3 a.m. And I was just like, I feel okay today. That's the weird part. I woke up yesterday and I felt fine. I woke up today and I feel okay. So I don't know if it's that or if it's maybe maybe I'm dealing with a depression kind of thing. 'Cause that hits me sometimes and that's all it does is make me want to sleep. So I don't really know what's going on, but it's been kind of weird. It's really messed up my sleeping too. Because it's weird because I'm sleeping all this time and I'm waking up and I feel like I've not slept much at all, which probably means I'm sleeping too much. But yeah, so it's weird, like listening to my body, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. So,
do you have an app that keeps tracking your sleep so you can actually see if you're sleeping?
I was thinking about that today. I should have been using that, and I haven't. Mainly because I haven't really been thinking about it. I just go in and I'm just like feeling meh, and I just, just lay down and I'm out, basically. It's so strange. This is like the least trouble I've had falling asleep in a long time, but I'm falling asleep at like 5:30 at night. It's not, it wouldn't be so bad if I was falling asleep at, like 10 or 11 or something. Be like, hey, maybe I'm just finally finding a normal sleep
schedule.
Yeah. But now that's the problem is it's not, it's not working well enough that way. So yeah, I don't know. It's kind of stunk though. So, and no, there's been no medicine change, no anything like that. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. Maybe it's a weather situation messing with my brain or something. I don't know. Because of the change of season type of stuff.
Could be.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's something else I was going to talk about, but I can't remember what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and just cede the floor to Henno.
Well, if you remember, just, interrupt and butt in. And
yeah, I will.
I know who you are.
I'll just start talking louder and over you.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Sounds like a solid plan.
Well, podcast.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so I didn't come on last week because I got home on... I drove all the way back from California. I started on Friday night and made it to Reno, which I've done many times. It's like, I'll just get to, Tahoe, go, and then I'm like, I might as well just go to Reno. It's a little cheaper. I get to Reno, and I had not even thought about Columbus Day weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So they're having their Italian festival the next day, and Willie Nelson was there. And so I'm up in Tahoe, and I'm looking in hotel rooms, and I'm like, I can't find it. I mean, there wasn't a single vacancy in anything for less than $150.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, what is going on? And what was funny was the next day where I'm like, okay, I'm in my mom gave me their van, and I'm like, it was like later the next day, I'm like, I had a van and there's a sleeping bag in the back of it. I sleep in my car all the time.
Yeah.
But to be honest, I really wanted to just find a bed and sleep in it because I still had, 9 hours of driving the next day.
Right.
And so, but I finally got a place, and it was expensive, but I was prepared for it, so it wasn't a big deal. And got in kind of late at night, but managed to get a really good night's sleep. So the next day, the drive was easy, and I had a really good book on tape, and I made it home, and I was just so happy to be home. And I had this, on the way home, I'd had this bit of a, not quite an existential crisis, but kind of bordering on one, in that I just kept thinking about all the stuff that I just threw out with my sister. All the things that were amazing, and then all the stuff I brought home with me that I was like, I don't even know where I'm going to put any of this. I don't even know how important it is to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like going, okay, how old am I right now? How, like with the decades, if I lived at the same age as my father, with the decades that have left, how important is this crap? Is basically it, is the stuff. And I kept hitting it on the way home. Every once in a while, I just feel that sort of, like, it was almost to that. I don't have that kind of thing. Like, what have I done with my life? I have none of that. That stuff doesn't play in.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of it was reflecting on what I experienced, and where do I mirror that? And so when I got home, the first thing I did is I walked into, I had stuff I wanted to bring into the house with me. I brought in a box, and I took out a box, and I threw it right in the garbage.
Yeah.
And I brought in another box, and I went down the basement, and I picked up I grabbed something, I looked through it, and I went, this is junk, and threw it away. And I started just getting rid of just paperwork and materials from courses I'd taken, for my work and stuff. I haven't even looked at it ever since then. I was like, why do I have this? And then I made a vow that I'm not bringing anything in until something is going out. And I had this huge amount of stamps that I wanted to sell and do something with the money, so they weren't just, that's the way stamps are. They have a face value that is always usable. As long as we have mail, you can use any postage. As long as you can fit enough of them onto an envelope or a box, it's useful. It's money. And I was like, I'm not letting this go to waste. I'm going to sell this stuff, and the money, some of it's going to go to my nephews, and I want to see them get something for it. And I created this space in my basement where I had this stainless steel table that's been on the side of the house for a while, probably driving Sharon nuts, but she's been very polite about it. And I got that cleaned up, and that went downstairs, and all of a sudden I had a workspace. She even has this old TV with the DVD player in it. I set that up on one of my speaker stands. So I got I've got all these DVDs that I don't watch anymore, but I'm like, okay, cool. Now I can watch them.
Yeah.
I have them on the background. And I created this zone, a workspace, to get going on this. And literally there's still tons of boxes in the car of things. And I brought a few things in that night. The cameras were really neat, going through with Sharon and showing her some of the just old things that were in great condition still. And she was great. She allowed me, she said, well, why don't you put it on that top shelf up there? And so I put my dad's old camera from the 50s up there in this flash unit, and just even the bag that the flash is in is really cool. And I just loved it. It just fits perfectly. And my mother was great. She was just like, oh, poor Sharon has to deal with the, this shrine to your father. And I was like, she's the one that suggested it. And my mother's like, okay. Because my mother I've learned so much about my mother this trip home. She has no nostalgia whatsoever. Like none, but it's great. She's looking forward. She sent an email to Sharon this last week and said, I feel like I'm in my 30s again. And when, before I got married, when I was, she got married she probably came out to California when she met my dad when she was just around 30. And she's like, I feel independent again. And I think it's a really good thing. It's a really good thing for her. Her energy, she's feels a little alone. The house is a little bit empty, but she's excited at what's to come in the future. And it makes me feel so good about that. And so that's why I think she's also not nostalgic, is for her, this is a transition. And that was then, this is now. What are we going to do with now? I love that because it's absolutely the complete opposite of my grandmother, which is amazing. Because there was just a certain thing that I still remember. I was like, ooh, boy, that's got to be hard to live like that. And it's like, mom isn't living that way, which is really good. But by the end of the night, I had a good grip on what I wanted to do. And so the next night we were going to podcast, I was like, okay, I haven't even gone grocery shopping for the week. I have yard work to catch up on. I came home from work and I immediately I hadn't done all my wildflowers. Everything needed to be weed whacked. I was like, I got stuff to do. And then for the last week, I've been pretty much every night and every day, I have been doing a stamp collection, except it's not collecting, it's disbursement. But there's these moments where I'm sitting there analyzing these stamps, and I've got my dad's old magnifying glass, and I got my dad's old tweezers, and I'm doing exactly what he did, just in reverse, where he would buy these, organize them, and then, and put them into albums. Now, granted, they're not in albums. I'm going through boxes, organizing them, learning everything about them, really enjoying it, and I just keep laughing about it. It's my dad's revenge because I wanted to be a musician and play soccer instead of, do his hobbies with him. Because I've literally, I bring up on here all the time about how our assets can become liabilities and our liabilities can be assets. And one of them is my ability to hyper focus on something can be an asset or a liability. And this week, you could look at it one of two ways. Like, I've been able to devote an incredible amount of energy into finishing what I started in California. And it's been great because I've hit these milestones where I just see the things getting less and less and less. And in the meantime, I'm also looking at my own part in this. And I'm a little I'm pushing to that edge of now I need to find some balance. I have a gig coming up this week. I need to rehearse. I have other things I need to do. I can't devote everything to this one endeavor. So I need to now find some balance, find a way that every night I continue to do something, but not where it's my sole focus. Because I've at least hit I've hit a point where I can do that. But that's why I thought about a topic for tonight is the classic decluttering. And one of the things that there's a lot of books that go into various techniques, and there's a couple of questions that come up all the time. And I found on Tiny Buddha this article by Kelly Ramsdell, and it's Free Up Your Space, 2 Simple Questions for Easy Decluttering. And I'm just going to jump right ahead to the questions because I hear them all the time. Is do you love it? Do you use it? And then she added a third thing, which is a little takeoff of the from Star Wars and Yoda, is do or do not. There is no maybe. And I thought these were great little these are great exercises for anyone to do. And me personally, I didn't even get into these questions. I just walked right downstairs and I just said, I don't need any of this. And yes, I did hit some maybe, or maybe it wasn't a maybe. It's, do I love it? I don't love it. Do I use it? I don't use it. It's something that I wrote about. Like what it was is I found this one pile of newspaper clippings that my dad had saved of this. This had nothing to do with the things I brought back from California. This was something that he just saved on his own and sent to me one time. It was every time I wrote a letter to the editor, because in California I would call a reactionary Republican. So I was one of the few people that wrote about conservative. Now anyone that follows me on Facebook knows that I'm pretty much the polar opposite now. But it was fascinating reading these articles. I read them as I've read a few of them. I was like, okay, wow, that's a point of view. I no longer have that point of view, and I have reasons why I no longer. But it's not something I use or love. But it might be something that might be worth keeping. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But getting into the questions is, do you love it? You really ought to, because life is too short to be surrounded by things you dislike or that you find oppressive to your spirit. If you despise an item, why would you keep it? And yes, there is that familial guilt and all, but still, if you don't have space in your place, you don't like it, these are the sort of things that you should be thinking of liberating in hopes that we'll find someone who really does like it. And I think a lot of things like think about clothing. What kind of clothing do you love? Is it, it should be a color that's just right for you, the style, the fit, how it feels.
There's a woman that's doing it right now. Marie Como, is it? Or
yeah, she's the one with the Netflix special and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That she's doing a lot about decluttering your life and decluttering your world.
Yeah.
And so she talks about these things. But yeah, it's tough because I have to fight with myself. It's not just do you love it, it's do you love it or do you love the memory of it?
Good question.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that one because it's like I love how things bring back memories to me because I don't have the best memory. So sometimes I do need things to jog my memory and to help remind me. So it's tough for me to part with things because it is almost like I'm parting with a memory.
Yeah, that's it. She has a paragraph here. It says, and for items you're keeping for nostalgia, a box of letters from an ex, for example, you'll have to dig deep and be honest with yourself about whether this actually serves you or just drags you down. You may have loved them in the past, but is it self-loving to hold on to them? I thought that was a great question.
Yeah.
How is this? Because we talk a lot about loving ourselves on this show. We talk about taking care of ourselves and doing. So if I have something that maybe brings back a memory that might not be self-care, why am I holding on to it?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, it's interesting, the nostalgia one, actually. My mom had a blanket it was my dad's blanket, and he had it since he was a little kid. And my mom, she asked me if I would mind if she gave it to my one sister, because she knew my one sister would really appreciate having it, And I thought about it, and it literally took me a minute. And I was like, yeah, give it to her. Because to me, I'm going to look at it and go, that's Dad's blanket. For anyone who knows me, I don't use blankets a lot. So as far as a functional item, it isn't going to hold a lot to me. And the fact that I know it would mean a ton to my sister, it's like, well, she will appreciate it so much more than I will. So why not put it in the hands, like you said, put it in the hands of someone who will appreciate it more. And she'll probably actually use it because she's always cold. So, like I said, with me, it's like it'll probably sit folded up and I'll look at it and go, yep, that was Dad's blanket. And that's really all it's going to do for me. And it's like, that doesn't do enough for me, you know, as far as, whereas if somebody feels some sort of a comfort to it and using it, and it, you know, it's like in my head, it's like, well, this is a no-brainer. You give it to somebody who's going to use it rather than just let it sit on a shelf and collect dust. That's all it's going to do for me. So, yeah, I thought that was a really good point when you brought that one up about, you know, putting things in the hands of people who will actually, you know, use it or whatever.
Or appreciate
it. Yeah, exactly.
Value it or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Because that's I think love is a strong word.
Yeah.
But I think it's here for a purpose.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, because if I stop and I start looking around, it's like, okay, I like a lot of stuff I have in front of me. Do I really love it? Well, maybe I do need that word.
Yeah.
To really make this decision. And you bring up use it. That's this question number 2 is, do you use it?
Mm-hmm.
Like in the example of clothing, this means, do you wear it? And not in a ever in life, but in a within the past 12 months. If not, you probably ought to let it go.
Right.
Although I do believe in making a very occasional exception for this category, as long as you have the storage space, the last caveat is very important. And that's like with me. I have suits.
Yeah.
I love wearing suits.
Yeah.
I have no reason to wear suits, especially up here. Everything is freaking resort casual.
Right.
But I love them. I'm glad I have them, and I have the space to keep them. So I will.
Yeah.
I had a great thing happen to me, speaking of clothing, on this week is Sharon came home. I was just on my way out for rehearsal, and Sharon came home and told me about a family that had got 1 town down that got burned out of their house. Like, gone.
Yeah.
House gone.
Right.
Belongings gone. Everything gone. Teenage son. I think the daughter was younger. They need clothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm ready. I was so ready for this. I've been, you know, you've been talking about T-shirts, Brian. Yeah. I have, you know, same thing. I have a closet full of T-shirts. And I have jackets, and I had a coat. I went downstairs. I had this great big puffy coat with a hood. It's awesome. It's warm. I literally never wear it.
Yeah.
So that went into a box. Happened to have the same size shoe. Boom, that went into a box. Then I just started going through, like, I have a bins full of, my mother loves to buy me long underwear and socks and this and that. So I can't wear all of them at once. I couldn't even wear all of them in a week. So I just started pulling stuff out. Somebody needs this.
Right.
And if they don't, somebody else will need it.
Well,
and it felt so good.
And the other side to it, too, is, you know, like we've talked before, you're in a fortunate enough position that if you're like, wow, I need socks, you can go buy yourself some new socks. You know, when you literally have nothing, you can't many times afford to go buy yourself a whole new wardrobe, you know? So it's like, okay, a couple packs of socks and you're set for a little while, you know, kind of a thing versus, you know, so I've always looked at it kind of like that too. Like when people are in positions of need like that, you know, it's like, okay, you know, like you said, it's like, oh, I have 3 winter coats. How many can I wear at one time? Or, you know, like how many do I really need, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, if sometimes just give one away and it's like, look, if I need another one, you know, I always kind of felt like it's one of those things. It's like, putting that karma forward, it's like something will allow you to be in a position to get what you need when you need it again, you know, kind of a thing. So I'm with you. I did that actually before I got all the T-shirts together, when I was pulling some other stuff out, you know, like I have a bunch of khakis from back when I worked at the video store and stuff that I can't wear anymore. Plus I wouldn't wear because I wear jeans or shorts all the time. You know, stuff like that, some sweaters that I wore to work, and I was still in really good shape. You know, maybe a little snag here or there, something because I wore them to work in. But other than that, they're in great shape. And I was like, you know what? And then something like that happened locally here where, you know, this was last winter, and some family had an issue with a fire and blah, blah. And the guy, the dad of the family, wore very similar sizes to me. And I was like, here's a whole bunch of this. Whatever you can't wear, move it along. Like, give it to a church. I don't care what you do with it from there. Goodwill, I don't care. Just, or if you know someone else who, even if it's somebody you just know that could use some of that stuff, just move it forward, basically. That's, you know, because again, it's like, what am I doing with it? All I'm going to do with it's donate it. anyway, you know, so I'd rather see it go directly to somebody in a position of need than give it to a place that's going to, you know, where it'll sit on a shelf for months before it moves or something, you know. So that's, yeah, I'm with you, Heno. It feels awesome when you can help people. You know, a friend of our family a few years ago, their house burnt down and they needed all sorts of things. You know, my mom had an extra couch in our place here, and she was like, you know, she had an extra Christmas tree, you know, a fake tree you put together or whatever, and it was in like late November. And she gave him the couch, she gave him clothes, she gave him all this, you know, a bunch of stuff, some extra food that she had. And then she also was like, well, here's a Christmas tree too, so now you don't have to worry about that. And, you know, like just kind of, and she's done that a few times over the years. My mom's done that time and time again to people. She hears of somebody in a position like that, man. She will empty the house basically. And it's, and, you know, and it's great because it serves the two purposes. Like I said, one, it helps you declutter, but it also, it puts you in a position of helping, and, you know, and I don't know, it's always nice when you can help out. You know, it always sucks when you hear a story of somebody in need and you're like, I just can't do much right now, you know, so, yeah. So, good on you for helping out, though. So, I know that's not why you're telling us, but that's, you know, still.
Yeah, and what was great is at one point the box was sitting in, you know, because Sharon was donating some things too, and I was like, well, are we going to drop this box off? And I finally got to this point where I said, well, even if I don't give it to them, it can go.
Yeah.
This can go.
Yeah.
This is because as I was going through shirts, I was realizing there's one part in this little article that describes it just perfectly. If you're crowding all of your stuff in order to keep a bunch of maybe just in case, but I can't get rid of that sweater, coat, dress items, then you are making every single day of your life harder than it needs to be, because when your stuff is jam-packed, you can't readily get to the stuff that fits and that you wear. And it's so true, because as I was looking through these T-shirts to find the stuff that I don't wear, I was finding all these clothes that I do really love that I hadn't seen in a while.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought, I was like, why do I have this?
Yeah.
And you know, the last thing this talks about is, you know, the do or do not, there is no maybe. And that a lot of decluttering gurus advocate creating a maybe pile for things that you can't make an immediate decision about. And she says, I choose not to allow for it when we were downsizing as well as decluttering. The reason I chose not to use a maybe pile is because if you say maybe, you're essentially making a decision now to make the decision later, which really isn't solving anything.
Right.
And it's true.
Realistically, in that scenario, maybe really isn't a maybe pile. Maybe is a no pile. Because you're not.
That's where I think so.
Yeah, because you're saying I'm not getting rid of this. And right now, that's what you're trying to do. Am I getting rid of this or no? And if you allow yourself a maybe pile, now you've went from a 50-50 decision to a 30-60 decision, essentially, of getting rid of stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's like she goes on about, like, the mail, that you don't handle them twice. You either trash it, recycle it, or file it.
Yeah.
It's one or the other.
Right.
There's no ambiguity.
Right.
The only time that I don't file something or trash it if it's something that I need to deal with. And unfortunately, I have a lot of out of sight, out of mind kind of stuff lying around that I really don't need to. That's where I have maybe piling up around my house.
Yeah.
Is the things that I need to deal with at some point, where it's like I need to deal with it just now because I want to make a decision now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to turn this on something that's going to sound a little morose, but it's the best way that I could phrase what I felt. And it was good for me for decluttering, is I thought, if I die tomorrow, picture your loved one going through all of your stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And the minute I thought about that was motivation. It was such motivation. You know, my internet history is one thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's the least of, I mean, like when I look at my desk, it's like, do I really want to, somebody has to go through all this and decide what it, you know, like my dad had a folder that was nothing but my grandfather's obituaries.
Oh, wow.
So that meant something to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My sister decided she put it into the maybe room because we had rooms.
Rooms, yeah.
I could care less.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Right.
I've never looked at it. It's on the internet. I could find it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Just there's so many interesting things. Like I still have the wedding certificate, the marriage certificate for my mother and my father, who got divorced 30 years ago, like 32 years ago. I still have their wedding certificate because they didn't want it. Now, why would I want that?
Yeah, share on this.
Yeah.
Why
That's
would you
something I
keep
noticed.
it?
A lot of people do that, though. I've noticed a lot of parents do that to their children. Like, they'll hand them all this stuff that is something from their life and be like, well, I don't want this anymore. I figured you might want it. And it's like, why would I want this? Like, like it's different if it's pictures or family heirlooms or, you know, but it ends up most of the time just being like paperwork they just don't want to throw away, so they hand it to you instead. You know?
Exactly. So I'm like looking at this and I'm like, you know, it's part of my journey because it's part of where I came from. You know.
Yeah.
Are you scrapbooking though?
No, I don't scrapbook.
Yeah.
Are you creating like an album of your life journey?
I am not. So it is in a box somewhere along with other keepsake items that I don't, you know, I've got bags of stuffed animals that I have pared down many times, and I am down to the essential ones. They are so essential to me that they sit in a garbage bag in my garage.
That's where you go.
Right.
I cannot get rid of them.
Yeah.
But then why aren't you displaying them?
Well, it's an ongoing thing in the house because I also have a collection of cats, the cat items that I've got about 200-300 cat items that I'm only allowed and I hate to say allowed because it's not really.
Yeah.
I've agreed to.
You decided.
Yes, I've agreed that I will have just my curio cabinet full of my kitty items.
That you can rotate.
I can if I wish, but I don't.
No, that's where the lazy comes in. Yeah.
Comes in.
Yeah. Which is
I
a
have
whole nother
value-
element of it because it really is. It's like I thought about this with the Funko Pops that I have because I have well over 300 of them. And I'm looking at my collection online and I'm like going, okay, I'm looking at my collection online. Like they're in boxes. Like I don't know if you guys can see them, the boxes that are behind me, the real big white ones. So
funny.
it's kind of like, why don't I pare those down to ones I can just display? Because I have way too many to ever display in the place I'm living. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And it ends up becoming just as dangerous as the maybe pile is anything that's when I fill in the blank. Lose weight, have space, have time, whatever it is that fits in there. That's just as dangerous because, like me, it's like, well, if I had my own place, I could have them in different rooms and display them throughout the house. And then it's like, would you though? Probably not. So again,
there's that fear that I've talked about on here, that fear of lacking, the fear of never having the ability to get something that you want again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this comes from. I can't get rid of this because it's a fear.
Yeah.
There's no faith in that. Like, you know what? If I ever decide to fill a house full of Funko Pops, I'll be able to fill a house full of Funko Pops.
Yeah.
That's
right. Exactly.
That's faith.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's living and not living in.
Well, and you know firsthand, Henno, that also part of that comes from, you know, having issues with money, you know. So as a result, you have to work through that in the process of that as well, because in order to get to that point of having that faith, you know, you have to have the faith. You have to build up that faith that you will have that because, you know, as people, you and I have been, you know, like very much the fear of that. like you said, it's a fear.
Yes.
It's the fear that I won't
Yeah.
be able to do it later, so I'll do it now, while I can. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And this is something that I really, it's another thing that baby steps work. You do it several times a year. It's typically suggested you do it that way because that's where time goes by. You start to reevaluate whether you do use something or you don't. It was the same thing with when we started going through my dad's things and we did create a I'm not sure about room.
Yeah.
And that space became easier to get rid of as we started getting perspective.
Yeah.
Because at first we just didn't have perspective on what was there. And I had someone say that if you haven't looked in a box for 3 years, just throw the whole box out. And at the first time I pulled up, it was after I moved here. I had everything in storage, and things pretty much stayed in storage until I bought my house. And then I brought the things with me. Mm-hmm. And I was pulling boxes I literally had not opened in over 3 years. And I went, okay, if I went through the exercise, what would I have thrown out? And the honest truth is most of it I didn't even miss.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was there, didn't even care anymore.
I think that's the reason they tell you to do it that way, because if you do open it and start going through it, you'll start to formulate memories
exactly
of those items, so yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So one of the things I found in there was the certificate of I'm not a godfather to my nephew. I'm a sponsor. That's what this particular church calls a sponsor. And there was my certificate of that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I'm glad I didn't throw this whole box away for this one piece of paper.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Because that's the thing is, if for some reason later on you'd be like, oh, you know what was in that box? Kind of a scenario, like a lot of us would be like, no. What I'm saying is a lot of people might come up with that later, and then that would be their I'll never throw a box away excuse going forward. Yeah. So, boy, I'm glad I went through this. Yeah.
I'm just really, like I said, this is more about my own little epiphany this week.
Yeah.
But I'm seriously just like, why am I keeping this stuff?
Yeah, that's a good point. They say what you do is take all your hangers in your closet with your clothes on them and turn them one direction. Then anytime you do your laundry and you hang something back up, you turn the hanger around, so it's the opposite direction.
Okay.
After 3 months, you go and you look at your closet. Anything that is still facing the original direction, you haven't worn.
Right out.
So you get rid of it.
Yeah.
I like that.
I would probably find myself wearing stuff deliberately to cheat the system.
But that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't wear something you didn't like.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
And that's the thing. It's like, okay, and you have it part of your rotation. You're using it. Mm-hmm. Good. If you're not going to use it, then
get rid of it. Yeah. I remember that Clean Sweep show you used to watch, Jen. Like that guy that was the one on there who basically had that rule with people when they were like, they'd find a box of something and he'd ask and they'd be like, oh, I can't get rid of that. And he'd be like, why? And they're, oh, I love that or whatever. And he'll be like, when's, like you said, Jen, about the whatever. It's like, you love it so much. It's in a box hidden at the back of your closet. Like, when's the last time you looked at this box? Well, when's the last time you did anything with anything inside this box? Well, it's been 6 months, a year, and be like, then you don't love this. Like, like you just don't want to get rid of this is all, and I, as much as if I were in the moment, I would want to, punch the guy and throw him in the street too. But it was, but it's true when you look at the stuff because it really is. It's like, it's amazing how many people are super busy and yet have all this stuff. It's like, well, you're super busy, so you clearly don't have time for all this stuff. So why do you still have it? Why do you accumulate it? Mm-hmm. But when you were talking about the maybe thing, and doing a little at a time, I think another reason that's I think you kind of have to know yourself a little bit to determine which technique ends up working. Because for some people, it might be better to just do it, just full on do it, get it out of the way. But then there's going to be others that, like, if you watch Hoarders, you'll see where they do the revisit afterward, and somebody will have accumulated stuff to fill the space that they just created. And it's because, as we've discussed a little bit already on here, mentally they're not prepared for it. You know, like it's similar to, you know, like somebody having the weight loss surgeries, but then going right back to eating that way once they can start eating more and more and just keep pushing it. You didn't deal with the psychological part of it that goes with it. And a lot of times if you're into, and I know hoarders is a different perspective than just having some clutter, but there's still an element of no matter how much clutter you have, there's a psychological element to it and dealing with that in the process. Like you said with your dad stuff, you know, you guys didn't have perspective at first, you know, and after a while you started gaining perspective, and then you can revisit that original stuff. And like you said, I bet it was a lot easier at that point to look at it a little more, objectively.
It was more objectively.
Yeah.
Because before it was definitely subjective because it was his.
Exactly. Yep.
Or it had some familial, connection.
Yeah.
But then after a while, it was like we gained objectivity over.
Yep.
Over it.
And you start going, well, if we're getting rid of this, we can get rid of this too. You know, like kind of stuff. I think it kind of helps.
That's exactly
a lot.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's where I did the same thing as you did, Jen. I had tons of stuffed animals, and a lot of them were gifts from girlfriends and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I just started going through and just getting rid of all the ones that were just silly. I didn't have them out on display, and now the ones that I do have. That I'm not saying they're all out on display in my room, but when I walk down into the basement, there's one of my stuffed animals, and I see it. It's not it's not hidden, and it feels right. It feels better in that way. That I at least, if I'm keeping something, I should do something with it.
Yeah.
More than just I really I want to keep this going. Right now I'm focused on one thing, but when I'm done with this, I want to keep this going. I do want to simplify a lot.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that's not mentioned in this article, and it's something that I've always believed, is that my physical surrounding is probably indicative of my internals.
Yeah, probably.
Mm-hmm. And that when I clear up, when I make room for new things to come into my into my life physically, I also do the same emotionally and spiritually in all the different ways. Is when I create space, I allow new things to come in. And it's just like this, just the idea of like, if you're holding on to old thoughts, to negative thoughts, to the old renting space in your head, nothing new can come in if you're holding on to that old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the action of physically doing that in my external environment can then help my internal environment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I could see where it would. Yeah.
Because it's also an act of faith. It's saying something else can come into this space.
Yeah.
Something else will come into this space. Something valuable will come into this space if I allow it. And the longer I hold on to something old, the less opportunity I will have for something new.
Yeah.
This is true.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to... It's similar to a lot of the stuff, like when people hold on to like love letters from like, previous relationships and all that kind of stuff. At some point it's kind of like, why are you still holding on to these? Sometimes there's strong reasons, but other times it's just a matter of not throwing it away, and it's like, but you've moved on from this, so why are you hanging on to, again, it's weird how we are about stuff like that, like it's different with your financials and those kind of, paperworks that you need to hang on to. It was like, I was moving some stuff the other day and I found paperwork from my lawsuit after the car accident I was in. And that accident was in what, Jen, 97, 98? Something like that.
Something like
so
that.
My lawsuit was in 99, 2000, something. It's like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. Like, why do I still have this? honestly, I didn't have to keep it for very long because realistically, it's like it's over.
It's settled.
Yeah, it was settled and done with.
It's settled.
Yeah, there's no no one's gonna go back on whatever. Even a few years afterward would have been time to throw it away. So why all this time? So that's exactly what I did. Was immediately took it, folded it right up and right into the garbage, and did that with some others. Oh, like when I filed bankruptcy, 15 years ago, 13 years ago. I went ahead and threw that stuff away too, because it's like at this point, I don't need it. All that stuff is gone. So it's and I've been trying to be better about that kind of stuff too. Like because there's sometimes where I'll see a pile of papers and I'll go through it and be like, this is like old receipts and stuff, and it's like, do I need this for tax purposes? If so, keep it. Or return reasons, obviously. Mm-hmm. But after that, it's like, why do I have this? Like, throw it out. There's no reason to keep these anymore. So I've been trying to at least get better on the paperwork angle of things.
I know we've got a lot of work to do in this household around paperwork.
It's so easy because you've got things money going so many different ways a lot of times that you want to make sure you don't throw something out that you actually are going to need, But at the same time, it's like, after a few years, most of the stuff you can probably toss, aside for, like, again, unless it affects your taxes or something. But even then, once once you've done your tax returns, you probably don't need a lot of the other stuff anymore. Just hang on to the tax return maybe, but.
Yeah.
Well, and now my sister had brought this up while we were going through stuff, is now with a lot of the phones and devices and tablets, you can literally just take a photo and it'll scan to PDF.
Yeah.
If it has writing on it, it'll scan to PDF. You could literally get rid of an entire cabinet full of papers. If there's something important that needs to be done there, you just set up they even sell these cool like boxes where you set up your device. It's got a little opening in it for it to point down. You just slide a document in there, click, take the picture, pull it out, click, and it just every single one of them just goes to PDF.
Yep.
Nice.
Exactly. So like you said, it's like you were getting to a point that it's not even as necessary as it used to be, because you can back things up in like 14 different places online if you need to, or on USB drives or whatever,
Pretty much.
So, yeah.
Well, guys, on that note, what do you think? We're pretty good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Appreciate the chat.
Yeah, it's awesome chat. And if you guys would like to continue the conversation with us, we'd love to hear from you. You know what to do. You can reach us at the Crazy Life Podcast at outlook.com is our email. The Crazy Life Podcast.weebly.com is our website. You can reach me on Twitter at Jen's Crazy Life. That's Jen with a G. You can also, if you want to hear more from me, you can listen to my other podcast, which is Shake the Sheets. It's a pop culture talk podcast, and you can find that at shakethesheets.com is the website. And you, Heno, how can they reach you?
You can find me, excuse me, you can find me on Twitter at Ida Heno, find me on Facebook at Heno Heiter, and we just released a new Moving the Needle podcast that is all about whether rom-coms are dead or not. And we had a special guest on who is pretty much an expert at romance and romantic. She writes for EW Online and also writes romance novels. So it was really fun.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Excellent. You can find me on Twitter at Stunami. You can find my other podcast, Salty Language, at salty_language on Twitter or saltylanguage.com. The show's not safe for work, and we just talk about what's happened to us in our lives, and then usually some, silly news-type stuff or pop culture or kind of just whatever we feel like talking about that week, or wherever our conversation takes us. We're very stream of conscious on there. You can also find this show on Twitter at the Crazy Life Pod, where I post when new episodes go up. You can check us out on Facebook if you'd like to, or at facebook.com/group/Crazy Life Podcast. And we are a part of the Danger Entertainment Network, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. and the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. Why do I feel like I forgot a link there? Nah. Oh, well. All the links are in the show notes if you need them, or you contact one of us. We can get you a link to something if you need it. As always, we, if you need help, please reach out to somebody. And again, it's not always like mental health type stuff. Like if you need help with clutter, there's people out there to help with that as well, and if you have trouble dealing with your clutter and you realize that it's for various, whether it's control reasons or whatever else, especially if you're already in therapy, talk to your therapist about this. Maybe they can give you some helpful tips for how to take a step back from things and see stuff as stuff again, which can be a very difficult thing. Like Henno said, especially in the situation you guys were just dealing with, Henno, that's one of the hardest places to deal with stuff as just stuff, Yep. Yeah, I didn't mention that, actually. I forgot. I was going to mention it when you were talking about that, like after my dad died, that was amazing to me how you see other people process the stuff, because to me it was just stuff. None of it was bringing my dad back. None of it, or very little of it, was something that I was like, I have to have this, So, but other people, that's what they cling to for a little while and whatever. And, whether it's good or bad, whatever, that's how they process. But, again, if you need some help with that, please reach out. Again, there's tons of people out there that are, qualified to help.
And I want to bring one up. I heard about this on another podcast, Talkspace.com.
Yeah.
They offer online therapy, and they even do text therapy. So if you're even uncomfortable with like a video conference or talking, you can even do texting therapy now with professionals, which I think is just amazing. So check out Talkspace.com.
Yeah. And we're not paid to say that. I just want to point that out. There are some mental health podcasts out there that are paid by them, but
we're not.
We're not one of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We could be. You're interested.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not mad at the Talkspace people,
Yeah.
Feel free, slide into our DMs.
Talkspace.
Yeah. No, that's a good point though, Henno. I forgot about that. It's a good way to stay, and I believe you can stay anonymous on that, like through that
Absolutely.
too.
Yep.
Which is, a bonus for some people. So yeah, again, if you need some help, please reach out for it. There's tons of people out there willing to help you. And also, let's try to make sure that you reach out to people you haven't talked to in a while. Just make sure they're doing okay and whatever, because you just never know when, your, hey, how are you comment might really change the course of someone's day or life, I guess. It depends on the scenario. So, please do that. And, of course, let's try to keep trying to be nice to one another out there. And again, keep in mind, just because someone has a different opinion than you doesn't mean that they're not still a person. And, let's still try to be nice to each other, even if we don't agree.
Sounds good. And with that, everybody, go out and have the best week you possibly can and enjoy yourself. We'll be here next week just waiting for you.